Hey folks, welcome to Any Which War Game. I'm Boz, and here we take a look at the games we play, the battles we face, and what works or doesn't. Let's get into it. Episode 1, Falling Out of Love with One-Page Rules. So, I was debating with myself whether to start the channel off with an episode like this and talking about something that I'm not really liking. Should I not start on something positive and uplifting and upbeat and all those good things? And this just kind of feels right. It's what's been on my mind today, and to be honest, it's what's actually given me the impetus to actually pull the trigger on, yes, I am going to start recording this podcast, and yes, this is what I'm thinking about now, so it's what I'm going to be talking about. So, to give a bit of background, I've been playing Grimdark Future now for, what feels like a long time, but is probably only 3 years. And I've been a financial backer of One-Page Rules via their Patreon at the Tier 2 level for most of that time. And what that means is I get access to the extended rules for the game, and they put out missions every month for all of their systems, or they used to, we'll get to that. And they also release models. They have their own model lines that they're kind of releasing piecemeal over time for their factions, which is a very cool thing, and most of them are pretty cool. And again, that's something we're going to be talking about. I've been a big fan of One-Page Rules for a long time, and part of the reason for that, a large part of the reason for that is because I've come across from playing Warhammer 40k, as a lot of people who play One-Page Rules have, and it's such a breath of fresh air to come over and play an OPR game after 40k or after any Games Workshop game, with the possible exception of the Middle-earth strategy battle game, which is a gem, and Necromunda, which is just nuts and fun and isn't meant to take itself so seriously. But coming over to One-Page Rules after struggling with 9th edition 40k and then getting to 10th and just going, you know what, this is silly, I'm out. Coming over to One-Page Rules and playing Grimdark Future from that was like, wow, what do you mean I can have whatever I want on the field and I don't need to represent it visually exactly? What do you mean the rules can fit on a double-sided page? And most importantly, what do you mean it's free? Surely I have to pay something. There's a whole game system with all of these army books. And yeah, that's the huge strength of One-Page Rules, and continues to be, is the fact that you can get out and start playing and not put a cent into the game. You can go onto onepagerules.com and download their free rules, which are all you need to play. Sure, the involved rules are more involved, and the missions mean you can play more missions, but at its core, you can pick up the free version of the rules and play for a very long time and be very happy with it. You can use their free app, the Army Forge, to make your list, and it calculates everything for you, and you can print it out, and it's very, very neat. And yeah, it's great. I can't say enough good things about that part of the model, which is good. It's good to start this off by stating, like, yes, I have been a fan in the past, and I still am. But I'm not in love with OPR the way that I used to be back in the day. And here's why. There's been some decisions made that I don't really agree with, that kind of make me think that the direction that the company is going in isn't quite so great. And it all starts with the man at the top, Gaetano Ferrara, whom everyone calls Tano. So this company and these game systems, they're Tano's babies, and he's been working on them for years and years, over 10 years now, back when it was called 40k Lite or something like that. And he's done a very good job in really, truly porting it over and trying very hard to make it its own separate entity, separate from 40k. And he's done most of it from his own bedroom, as far as I can tell. And that's kind of where the problem starts coming in. He's so used to having total control and being the one making all the decisions that it seems like there are some situations where delegation would have been good for the game, and the fact that he hasn't, or at least hasn't seemed to, has been detrimental. There seems to be a lot of instances, especially listening to the monthly podcast that he puts out, where it's been like, yes, and I've decided this, and I've decided that, and yes, this is a direction that I want to go in. And it just seems like he has had very little consultation with his team about certain things, which isn't really so good. There also seems to be quite a lot of examples of things being rolled out without being properly play tested, without having proper kind of market research put into it. We're going to talk about the Orc Marauders, don't you worry. And it all really kind of started with a rule called Assault. And Assault was this thing where you could shoot and then charge in the same turn, and you'd suffer a penalty, sure. And it was just kind of rolled out as, cool, this is a thing now. And there was a huge outcry in the community, including by me, just saying, why do we need this rule? What's it doing here? This rule is going to advantage already high-quality armies and disadvantage low-quality armies like HDF or Orc Marauders, for example. And there was such an outcry that Tano was forced to concede, alright, so I'm hearing that, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move it across to the optional rules instead. And got a huge pat on the back for listening to the community and blah blah blah. And I kind of wonder, well, why wasn't that done from the start? Those optional rules are what people can drop in and out if they want to, and such a massive change to the game should be properly play tested, which this didn't feel like it was, and also given to us as an option first to kind of gauge our reaction to it. This isn't Warhammer 40k, this isn't Games Workshop where there's a team who get paid to write the book and they can write pretty much whatever they want. One-page rules, they get their money primarily from the Patreon. They make money with model sales and things like that, but because their rules are free, their model is a subscription-based Patreon model, which means that if we don't like what they're doing, then we can actively stop their income by voting with our wallet and saying, this isn't the game that I signed up for, which really, I think, means that the community should have a greater input into what happens to that game. I don't think we should be consulted about every little thing for sure, but some rigorous playtesting and some rigorous market research before these changes are rolled out seems to me like it would be a good idea. Another thing that kind of started putting a few nails in the coffin of my one-page rules love affair was their world book, which I was very excited about. At the time I was really invested in the system and the lore and getting the expanded universe really fleshed out. And unfortunately, the world book just fell quite flat. I will say that a third of it was good and relevant, and 2/3 of it were probably kind of interesting. The fact is that fully two-thirds of this setting book set in the Sirius sector told us information that had nothing to do with the Sirius sector, which is where we play our games. That's the setting that one-page rules want you to be playing in. And they really didn't dwell on it for very long. And granted, learning about the rest of that galaxy was quite interesting, and it felt like it would be a very good primer for a role-playing game set in that galaxy. It really wasn't what I'd been hyped up for, and, I know I'm not the only person with that opinion, and in and of itself, it's no big thing. I didn't ask for a refund for it or anything like that. It was just another thing that came along and was like, okay, this is kind of shaking my idea of what one-page rules is. Another aspect that's really made me think twice about one-page rules as my go-to system is how much a few months ago Tano started really pushing flyers. He rewrote the flyers rule to try and make it more usable, and it's as dense as ever. It's nonsensical, and everybody needs clarification on how it actually works. He's even stated that it was because he knows that people have flyer models that they want to use in games. So it's a reaction, like, oh, 40k has flyers, therefore we must have flyers. Now, this is a personal opinion. I mean, this whole channel is a personal opinion to a very large extent, but I don't think flyers have any place at all in games of this scale. Flyers in epic scale games make pretty good sense. because you're playing in 6 mil or 8 mil now, I suppose, if you're playing the latest round of Epic that Games Workshop's put out. But yeah, you're playing in 6 mil, so the scale is much, much, much smaller, and there's room on that battlefield to have flyers that might actually make sense. Whereas for the games that we're playing with Grimdark Future and with Grimdark Future Firefight, having actual physical models representing flyers just really doesn't make sense. And the fact that it's been pushed and pushed and pushed by Tano just so people can use their 40k models, it just struck me as quite odd for someone who's in the same breath saying that they're really wanting to move further away from comparisons with 40k. It just kind of didn't make sense. And that brings us to the big thing, the nail in the coffin that was the end of my love affair with one-page rules, and that was the release of the Orc Marauder model line. Look, again, this is my opinion, but I think they look awful. Not only do they look awful, but the fluff that's been written to go with them and takes the orcs from what we all know and love, and not just taking them in a new direction, but taking them into a new direction that's made them bland. They're supposed to be these marauders, and yet the models looked like the original ones that they didn't end up releasing because a lot of people didn't like them. They just looked like bulky humans, not even so bulky. In fact, a lot of the comments around them were, at first glance, I thought these were more HDF models. And that's fair enough, because they were in uniform, which meant that they were uniform, and their heads don't really look like our classic 40k orcs. And Tano said, oh, I want to take them in a unique OPR direction, and I get that and I respect that, because it should be a distinct thing. However, you've taken them and completely turned them on their head. You've tried to reinvent the wheel and made them bland instead. So there has been a rework of the models, and they've now got a couple of things like, feathers and tribally looking things, but they're still supposed to be quite regimented. Yet, in the Army Forge update that dropped today, they've still got bad shot. So they're supposed to be this hardened army of warriors, but they can't shoot straight. It's such a big fail that for the first time in over 2 years, since I signed up for the Patreon, I actually dropped my sub back down to tier 1, which just means that I get new releases of the rules and I get the monthly missions and short stories, rather than getting the models, because I will not pay to support those models. I'm not going to print them, I'm not going to play with them, and I don't want to have to pay for them. Which brings me to today, when I saw there was an update saying that there's been updates in the Army Forge. Oh, and by the way, we've dropped goblins entirely from Orc Marauders. And, I panicked because my Orc Marauder armies to this point have been solely made of goblins, because I find them much more interesting than orcs. And, literally the next line was, don't panic, you're still going to have goblins. We've made them their own separate faction. And I thought, that was a really good idea. That is actually an idea that I can get behind, because now maybe they'll get some more love and some more focus, and I am all for that business. And so I hopped on to Army Forge and had a look. First of all, I read the lore. It's different. I don't hate it at all. It's they lived underground on a planet and they cohabited with some humans for a while, but then there was a thing that wiped out the humans or made them leave, and they had tech, and they went out to the stars, and they're just kind of sort of wacky, I suppose. Yeah, look, I don't hate it. It's not the best lore in the world, but at least they still seem kind of gobbo-y. And I thought, okay, well, let's have a look at the rules, Obviously, they've still got good shot. And I looked at the rules, and there was no good shot. There's a special rule that gives them +1 when shooting that you can take as a paid upgrade. There's another special rule that gives them AP +1 when shooting, which again is a paid upgrade, and there's no good shot. And so I had a look, and your basic goblin is now quality 5. I think they're still defense 6, but they're quality 5. So I guess Tano thought, well, the trade-off is they're now quality 5 and they can pay for an upgrade to be a 4+ to hit, which is basically good shot. And I just think that was entirely the wrong thing to do. Part of what made goblins unique and fun to play was that they had good shots, so they were shooting on 4+, but actually they were quality 6, which meant that if there was ever a morale check or something like that to be done, they were going to run for the hills, which is a very gobbo thing to do. And in making them quality 5, defense 6, they're basically HDF with a slightly worse save. And yeah, I wrote my reaction on the Patreon page saying, pretty much what I've just said, and also saying, look, the army list is actually pretty solid. It'd be really nice when you get around to it if you could add jetpack goblins and biker goblins, just kind of give them some more of those fun options. But yeah, I've got no problems with the actual models, the units rather, on the list itself. And I just said, look, please do really think about the special rules. This seems like it's been changed for the sake of being changed rather than serving any purpose for the game and for the faction. And it just seems like Tano's trying to reinvent the wheel again. So that's it. That's the end of my love affair with OPR. I feel like there's just been a couple of decisions too many that I'm like, well, it's not really what I thought I was signing up for. Now, am I going to stop playing the game? Hell no. It is still my go-to war game. I still have my Grimdark Future Firefight home league that I play against myself with 9 factions, and I have no intention of stopping that. Am I going to cancel my Tier 1 subscription? Absolutely not. I still think that the game system is one of the best out there when it comes to simplicity, when it comes to being able to do a lot with not very many rules. I don't think there's many out there who are doing it better than one-page rules. But gone are my days of gushing about how good it is and how it's the best thing to come along in a long time. It's a company like any other company that's existing to make money. They make good choices, they make bad choices, they piss some people off, they make other people very happy, and everything in between. So it's not like I'm not a fan anymore, but I'm not in love with them anymore. I'm not a fanboy, and that's just the way it is. So for now, I'm going to continue playing with my, what are they called now? Goblin Reclaimers. And I'm going to go in and remake my list. I'm going to go in and remake my character for StarQuest, which again is a cracking good game. And if you haven't checked it out, it's a really, really good game. And again, it's all free. So yeah, check out OPR if you haven't already. Play the games, enjoy it for what it is, and recognize that they are not the Messiah. They're just another game that's out there that you can play and have fun with. And I hope you do. So that's all from me. If you liked this content and want to see more, don't forget to like this video. If you like it enough, hit subscribe. I'm a brand new channel. It'd do me a solid if you just hit subscribe. And yeah, leave a comment down below. What do you think about one-page rules? Have you played it? Do you plan to? What do you think about the Orc Marauders? What do you think about the Goblin Reclaimers and their loss of good shot? I want to know. Let me know. Alright, until next time, let's roll some dice.